need a minute to throw batteries and so.
Okay.
By the way, I never complained about a quick council meeting.
Yeah, don't be complaining about those ones.
Never complain about more time to get my story done. Works now.
What else did you cover today? Are you covering council tonight?
Yes.
Nice. You the council guy?
Yes.
Nice.
As are you now, apparently.
For until March 1st.
What's in March 1st?
Are you guys ready?
March 1st is when, or February 29th.
Max, coffee, everybody?
Yes.
Ready?
Sorry.
Good, good, good. Okay.
You ready?
I think so. If you want to go ahead and get that set up.
You want me to start it now?
Yeah, go ahead and start it and then we'll come in.
So we're all going live then?
I guess so.
Okay. So I'm going live, so no
All right.
no swearing.
We're live.
I was hoping to get a mic check. Yeah, they'll check if there was. Mic check.
Thank you. Watch out.
Yeah, no, I can't.
It's not connecting to the network. We want to delete that one. Because it's trying to post
Oh,
it.
got it. Okay.
Everybody, is it okay if we move the Wyoming time a little bit to our right?
Usually if we could just Rebecca, just move them back.
Thank you.
Heather? Good?
You mind to give me a quick mic check?
Chief.
Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Let me just check something real quick. Yeah. Now we have.
Good? Okay, is everybody ready? Okay, good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Ladd and I am the Public Information Officer with the Casper Police Department. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to the individuals standing in front of you. To my right, we have Casper Police Chief McFeeters, and on my left, we have Casper City Manager Carter Napier. Today, we are going to be talking about an incident that the Casper Police Department began investigating over the weekend. At 6:33 p.m. on Saturday, February 15th, the Casper Police Department responded to a residence on the 1600 block of East 27th Street in Casper to conduct a welfare check. Shortly prior to that, a concerned friend of the couple at that residence had called police after her friend had not returned messages or phone calls for several hours. After arriving on scene, officers made several attempts to contact anyone inside, including tracking the cell phone of one of the residents inside the home. Seeing vehicles in the driveway and a person clear view through a window, officers acted on their growing concern for the well-being of the individuals inside the residence and entered the home at 7 p.m. Officers quickly located 2 deceased adults in the master bedroom, whom the Natrona County Coroner's Office later identified as 35-year-old Darren Rowe and 33-year-old Deidre Rowe. The Casper Police Department is currently investigating this case as a potential murder-suicide. At this time, we believe that this couple was last seen or heard from at approximately 8:40 p.m. on the evening of Friday, February 14th, 2020. According to Casper Police records, neither of the individuals involved in this investigation have a known history of violence. As part of our ongoing investigation, we will attempt to determine if there was a history of marital issues that may have been disclosed to family and friends. We believe that this was an isolated incident with no threat to the public. No one else is believed to be involved at this time. Out of respect for the families and close friends of those involved, further details will not be released at this time pending a complete investigation. If you have additional information in regard to this investigation, please contact Casper Police Detective John Peterson at 307-235-7406. At this time, I would like to invite Casper City Manager Carter Napier to the podium.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thanks to all of you for coming out today. We appreciate the opportunity to visit with you, although the note that we are visiting on today is rather somber and incredibly unfortunate. As you all know, Ms. Rowe was indeed an employee of the city of Casper, and with respect to that, we as an organization certainly are struggling with this loss and with respect to the tragedy that this type of incident represents. Anybody that knew Deidre knew that she was a kind, loving, helpful person. And with respect to that, we certainly are feeling that loss at this time. We are doing all that we can to be responsive to the needs of our employees, particularly those in municipal court who work closely with Deidre, as well as the other members of our organization that are struggling with this loss. The concern that I have here also extends into a greater part of our community. As you are all aware, this is the third incident of this nature in roughly a year's time. And with that comes a large concern for who might be involved in these kinds of things now, and certainly outcomes that may come similar to this in the near future. My hope is that with regard to our loss of Deidre, as well as to the other families throughout our community that have had similar losses, that this can represent a clarion call to our community, wherein these kinds of crimes and losses can be minimized and potentially not incurred again in our community. I believe that as citizens in this community, we can all have a role in trying to work against this type of scourge that has such a deep impact on families and citizens in our city. I think neighbors have a role. I think loved ones have a role. And I certainly think spouses and family members have a role in helping us expand the safety net that we have available to us here in Casper to prevent these kinds of things from ever happening again. We do have resources. We do have help available. And we do have ways to minimize this as much as possible. And so I hope all of you will join with us in putting out that call to action for our fellow citizens so that indeed we can avoid these types of crimes, we can avoid these kinds of losses, and do what we can to look out for each other, watch over each other, and protect each other as much as possible. I hope that's the message we can gain from these types of senseless losses. And I certainly hope that as we struggle through this together as a community, particularly as a city family, that we can find ways to help each other in ways that perhaps we haven't done before. With that, I will turn the time over to our Chief of Police.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Much of what I have to say is going to echo what Mr. Napier, our city manager, has had to say. We're grateful for the attention, the opportunity we have to bring attention to such a tragedy in our community, and to move forward as a community to look for ways to prevent them in the future. And although our investigation is ongoing and incomplete, what stands out in our preliminary thoughts are concerns that this tragedy constitutes yet another example of the dangers associated with the occurrence of domestic violence and intimate partner violence in our community. In addition, the frequency with which our citizens are dealing either with their own mental health issues or with those same mental health issues among friends, family members, and loved ones continues to be a public safety concern for our community. Wyoming routinely has one of the highest rates of suicide in the nation. We believe that by talking about this issue, instead of stigmatizing it, may help us, as a community, to find a solution to this all too frequent occurrence that is harming our community. Responding to suicidal subjects is consistently one of the top calls for service to which the Casper Police Department responds on a daily basis. About 1 in 5 adult members of our community suffer from a diagnosable mental health illness. Undiagnosed mental illness can increase the chance for suicide. There is local help available for everyone. If you or someone you know is suffering from mental illness, please seek professional services. If you or someone you love is suffering from suicidal thoughts, you can call us at the Casper Police Department. We will help. At any time, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Any instance of domestic violence has a lasting impact on a community. Every domestic homicide in Casper affects all of us who call Casper our home. As those who protect and serve this community, seeing these incidents firsthand is particularly troubling to us. We feel a responsibility to help those in domestic violence situations get the help that they need. If you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, there is specialized help available. You can call us at the Casper Police Department, you can call the Natrona County Sheriff's Office, or use some of our local resources such as the Self-Help Center. You can also call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7223. To stop domestic violence, we all need to be part of the solution. There's a full list of mental health and domestic violence resources on our social media pages right now. Please reach out if you need help or know someone who does. Ours is a wonderful community, filled with the most generous and kind people in the nation. If you know someone that needs help with domestic violence or mental health, do what is necessary for them to get the help that they need. If you are in an abusive relationship, reach out to us. We will help you. If you are an abuser, there is help available and a path forward to change. Talking about and promising to change is not love. Love is actually taking the steps necessary to change and stop this cycle of violence forever, once and for all. If you are suffering from mental health issues, get the help you need through the variety of resources our wonderful community has to offer. And I want to thank everybody for indulging us in this opportunity to spread the word. But we as a community need to bind together at a time like this and commit to making a change that is tangible. We appreciate your understanding and your patience as we, as the city of Casper, grieve over the death of our friend and colleague. But together we can make a difference. When we call upon our citizens today, let us work together to identify and prevent these from occurring in the future. At this time, we will take a few questions. However, please note that the investigation is ongoing, which significantly limits our ability to go into further detail about the specifics of this incident.
So you said that
More specifically, our employees that are members of the municipal court. As you can imagine, her coworkers and her friends that worked in the municipal court are suffering today. For those reasons, I'm hoping our citizens will understand that the court will not be active for the next few days, and that if you had court scheduled during this week, there's a high chance that we will be rescheduling that. Please be patient as we work through helping our employees to react and respond in a healthy manner to this tragedy that has occurred in their work group. But the municipal court will be back up and functioning as soon as is possible, but for the time being, we're asking for our citizens' patience as the court responds to this more immediate need.
Her title was municipal court supervisor.
Okay.
So you mentioned domestic violence, and thank you so much for giving a list of resources as well. Could you speak to some of the things that the police department is doing specifically to address domestic violence?
This will not be the first time that I've stood at this podium and discussed the tragedies that occur when domestic violence continues to get out of hand. We would tell people, both the abuser and the abused, that this is a cycle that has one inevitable conclusion, and that we sometimes rationalize and talk ourselves into believing that this would be the last time, that it will never happen again. Scientifically, we know that that is not the case, and so we have a variety of resources. Our victim services program here at the Casper Police Department is one of the finest in the nation, and they are actively involved in serving our victims throughout our community. The specialized resources that we have available is the Casper Police Department has undergone a significant amount of training to investigate and to provide assistance in situations of domestic violence, to better understand our victims and to engage with them in creating lasting change. We have a variety of resources. The Casper Police Department has a variety of tools we bring to bear on this problem. However, we can't do it alone. We need everyone's help to change what is arguably one of the more tragic circumstances in our community.
I have one more question. And you said the investigation is ongoing. Do you have a timeline yet for when you think that would be resolved?
I don't have a timeline. We have a very thorough job that we have to do. There's a lot of aspects of this that have yet to be determined. Deserves. But the reality is it's going to be a long investigation, and much of that information will not be available to us for quite some time. If there are no further questions, we encourage you to reach out to our public information officer if you determine that you have questions at a later date. Thank you to our citizens. Together we can make a difference. Thank you.